Have you ever wondered how so many US presidents, CIA directors, and Wall Street power players came from one tiny club at Yale? Is it just a college fraternity? Or is Skull and Bones something much bigger? Maybe even a pipeline to real power? Today, we're going to look into one of the most influential and secretive brotherhoods in American history, an elite club that's shaped the nation's leadership for nearly 2 centuries. For nearly 2 centuries, an elite Yale society has operated behind closed doors. Its name is whispered more than spoken Skull and Bones. From the cryptic rituals held in a windowless tomb to the selection of members from America's most powerful families, it has long been a symbol of privilege cloaked in mystery. Its alumni include US presidents, CIA directors, Supreme Court justices, and Wall Street titans. But what really happens inside? What influence has this secret brotherhood had over the course of American history? And more importantly, why don't we talk about it? Unlike ordinary college fraternities, known for parties, philanthropy, and networking, Skull and Bones operates more like an ancient secret society, with lifelong loyalty, rumored occult rituals, and an unparalleled grip on power. Is it just an exclusive boys' club, or something far more consequential? A dark, windowless building in the heart of Yale University. Known only as the Tomb, it's easy to miss if you're not looking for it. But those who know. Behind its locked doors, under the dim glow of candlelight, and surrounded by centuries of ritual, America's most exclusive secret society. For nearly 2 centuries, it has operated in the shadows. There are no official records, no press releases, no interviews, just whispered names, presidents, senators, Supreme Court justices, CIA spy masters, Wall Street bankers, linked by a common thread. They were all Bonesmen. Founded in 1832, Skull and Bones selects just 15 seniors each year from Yale's elite. What happens next remains largely unknown. There are rumors of cryptic ceremonies, of confessions given in candlelit rooms, of bonds forged not just in friendship, but in power. Those selected are said to emerge with more than a secret handshake. They walk into a lifetime of influence. George H.W. Bush, George W. Bush, John Kerry, William F. Buckley, Averell Harriman. The list of Bonesmen reads like a who's who of 20th century power, and some say 21st century control. They have run intelligence agencies, multinational banks, media empires, and even entire countries. But this story isn't about rumors, it's about patterns, connections, the quiet shaping of American power, generation after generation. How did a college fraternity become a kingmaker? What price comes with that influence? And why, after nearly 200 years, does no one dare to speak its name out loud? This is the story of Skull and Bones, the society behind the curtain, and the legacy that still shapes the world from behind locked doors. In the fall of 1832, beneath the Gothic spires of Yale University, 2 students, William Huntington Russell and Alphonso Taft, laid the foundation for what would become the most mysterious and enduring secret society in American history. Dissatisfied with the existing senior societies on campus, and inspired by occultic and Masonic orders they had encountered during travels in Europe, they envisioned something more exclusive, more ritualistic, more powerful. From the beginning, Skull and Bones was designed to be different. It was not merely a college club, it was a carefully constructed system of loyalty, secrecy, and symbolism. Only 15 men would be selected each year, only those seen as future leaders, captains of industry, politics, law, and culture. And once chosen, they would belong to the order for life. The name itself was ominous. The skull and crossbones, a symbol of death, of pirates, of eternal brotherhood, was not a casual decoration. It was a signal. Their motto, Bonesmen Forever, wasn't just fraternity rhetoric, it was a commandment. They established their headquarters in a windowless stone building off High Street, plain on the outside, but rumored to be filled with artifacts, stolen relics, and the eerie ambiance of ritual. Over time, it simply became known as the Tomb. Inside, initiates reportedly took part in elaborate rites, lying in coffins, reciting intimate confessions, taking blood oaths of secrecy. These acts were more than theater, they were psychological architecture. They broke down individual identity and replaced it with absolute loyalty to the order. Skull and Bones adopted its own calendar, known as the Bones time, its own coded language, and even its own corporate structure. In 1856, they incorporated the Russell Trust Association to manage the society's assets, including the tomb and later a private island in the St. Lawrence River. While Skull and Bones was born of Yale tradition, it was never truly of Yale. It stood apart, aloof, insulated, untouched. And as the decades passed, its graduates moved not only into the world, but above it, into the commanding heights of American power. What began in 1832 as a fraternity of secrets would grow into a shadow network spanning government, finance, media, and war. And the rituals of the tomb would echo far beyond the campus gates, because this wasn't just about college tradition, it was about legacy. And Skull and Bones was built to last. Every spring at Yale, 15 juniors are tapped on the shoulder. The message is cryptic, the meaning unmistakable. They have been chosen. From that moment on, they are no longer just students, they are initiates of Skull and Bones. Once selected, the new members vanish, metaphorically, and sometimes quite literally, into the society's rituals. Though Bonesmen swear an oath of silence, scattered accounts, leaked documents, and rare insider memoirs offer glimpses into what happens behind the locked doors of the tomb. The rituals are said to begin with death, symbolic of course, but unsettling in its precision. New initiates lie in a coffin and recite their life story, exposing secrets, trauma, ambition, and shame. In this moment, they are stripped of their former identity. What they share becomes property of the order, a form of psychological binding. Throughout their senior year, the Bonesmen meet multiple times per week in the tomb. They eat together, debate philosophy and politics, share confessions. But these are not casual gatherings. They are steeped in symbolism. Skulls, black candles, Masonic iconography, and the Latin phrase, "It is better to be silent than to speak falsely." The tomb itself is a fortress of secrecy. Built without windows, it sits like a crypt in the middle of campus, solid, impenetrable, and unchanging. Inside, rooms are reportedly named after members and lined with relics. Some claim the society once housed stolen artifacts, including Geronimo's skull, a rumor so persistent that Geronimo's descendants sued the society in 2009. And then there is Deer Island, a private 40-acre retreat on the St. Lawrence River, owned by the society's Russell Trust Association. There, far from cameras and crowds, members gather in complete seclusion. It's where the old bonds are renewed and where the next generation is introduced to the power of legacy. What sets Skull and Bones apart from other secret societies is not just the ritual, but the discipline. Leaks are rare. Disloyalty is punished by exile. The secrecy is not symbolic, it's structural. It ensures that the order remains intact, untouched by outside scrutiny. But in a world increasingly defined by transparency, Skull and Bones has remained silent, unmoved, and unchanged. Because secrecy for them is not a liability, it's a weapon. Skull and Bones was never just about secrecy. It was about trajectory. From its inception, the society positioned itself not as a student club, but as a launching pad, a tightly controlled pipeline to the highest seats of power in America. The names that emerged from its roster read like the architecture of a nation. William Howard Taft, the only man to serve as both U.S. President and Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, was among the earliest Bonesmen. Henry Stimson, class of 1888, served as Secretary of War under both Presidents Roosevelt and Truman, helping oversee America's entry into World War II and the birth of the atomic age. But it was in the 20th century that Skull and Bones cemented itself as a quiet ruling class. George H.W. Bush, class of 1948, went from Yale to the CIA, to Vice President to the White House. His father, Prescott Bush, class of 1917, was a U.S. Senator and financier with deep Wall Street connections. And George H.W.'s son, George W. Bush, class of 1968, would follow the same Yale path, later becoming president in 2000. 3 generations, one secret society. The society's reach extended beyond politics. W. Averill Harriman, class of 1913, founded the Union Banking Corporation and later became a major player in the Marshall Plan and U.S. foreign policy. William F. Buckley, Jr., the intellectual godfather of American conservatism, was also a Bonesman. In law, finance, publishing, intelligence, bonesmen surfaced again and again, often quietly, but always in positions that mattered. They shared more than a membership. They shared access. Through Skull and Bones, young men were plugged into a web of mentorship, patronage, and insider opportunity. Internships were arranged, campaigns funded, candidacies endorsed. And most of all, trust was assumed. In boardrooms and briefings, a bonesman's handshake carried a weight that no resume could match. The Russell Trust Association, Skull and Bones financial backbone, maintained not only the tomb and Deer Island, but also a network of alumni ties and secret communications. Though not officially affiliated with Yale University, the society operated with a permanence that even the university could not dislodge. Critics have long questioned whether this network represents a shadow oligarchy, a fraternity of the few shaping policy and profit for the many. Defenders argue it's simply tradition, a prestigious alumni club whose influence is earned, not imposed. But coincidence can only stretch so far. When the same names keep rising to the top, generation after generation, from the same building with the same oath, it becomes harder to believe it's just fate. Skull and Bones is not a conspiracy, it's a structure, and it works exactly as designed. Power, when hidden, often travels along the quiet corridors of influence, and a few corridors are quieter or more connected than those that stretch between Skull and Bones, Wall Street, the intelligence community, and the White House. From its earliest decades, the society cultivated ties, not just to government, but to finance. Alumni like Percy Rockefeller of the Standard Oil dynasty secured Skull and Bones a foothold in American capitalism. By the early 20th century, bonesmen were not just entering banking and investment, they were shaping it. They sat on the boards of J.P. Morgan, Brown Brothers Harriman, and Union Banking Corporation. The Russell Trust Association quietly maintained ownership and control of Deer Island, while bonesmen funneled their networks into private wealth and public policy alike. But it wasn't just about markets. It was about intelligence. When the United States entered World War II, the need for a new kind of warfare emerged: covert, strategic, and untraceable. The Office of Strategic Services, OSS, the forerunner to the CIA, was filled with Yale men. Many were bonesmen. They didn't need training in secrecy. They had been living in it since they were 20. The coded language, ritual trust, and brotherhood of Skull and Bones translated seamlessly into the world of espionage. James Jesus Angleton, Yale class of 1941 and a leading CIA counterintelligence chief, wasn't a bonesman himself, but many of his colleagues were. When the CIA was formally created in 1947, the overlap deepened. Men like Hugh Cunningham and Richard Bissell, who helped plan the Bay of Pigs invasion, had Yale and Bones ties. By the Cold War's peak, Skull and Bones alumni were present at nearly every level of the intelligence bureaucracy. And then came the presidency. One of the earliest and most prominent bonesmen to ascend to the nation's highest office was William Howard Taft, Yale class of 1878. A man of great intellect and ambition, Taft served as U.S. Solicitor General, Governor of the Philippines, and Secretary of War before becoming the 27th President of the United States in 1909. His deep ties to the political establishment and to Skull and Bones helped set the precedent for the society's entwinement with American power. But his rise was no anomaly. Before entering politics, he founded Zapata Petroleum, a company some researchers believe had intelligence ties. He served as ambassador to the United Nations, then envoy to China's, then CIA director, before becoming vice president under Reagan, and finally, the 41st president of the United States. His son, George W. Bush, class of 1968, followed the path. Yale, Bones, Harvard Business School, governorship, and eventually the presidency. During the 2004 election, two major party candidates, Bush and John Kerry, were both bonesmen, making the society's grip on American leadership explicit. 3 presidents, 1 secret society, a legacy written not just in history books, but in coded rituals behind a locked tomb at Yale. When asked about it during an interview, both men dodged. "It's so secret," Bush smirked. "We can't talk about it." Kerry gave the same answer. That silence speaks volumes, because Skull and Bones is not a conspiracy carved in smoke-filled rooms. It's a system of loyalty, tested, ritualized, and never questioned. It doesn't need to manipulate elections or bribe officials. Its power lies in the quiet assumption that those who have passed through the tomb share something the rest of us never will: a worldview, a trust, and a path. When a single secret society produces presidents, CIA directors, media moguls, and Wall Street titans, all from one university class of 15 men per year, some begin to ask, is this merely coincidence? Or something more? For decades, Skull and Bones has been the centerpiece of countless conspiracy theories. Some claim it is an American branch of the Bavarian Illuminati. Others suggest it is a recruitment arm for a global elite working toward a new world order. The society's symbols, skulls, the number 322, black robes, and mock funeral rites only deepen the unease. Its rituals flirt openly with death and rebirth. Its secrecy breeds suspicion, and its members' positions of influence invite scrutiny. In 2004, when both U.S. presidential candidates, George W. Bush and John Kerry, were admitted bonesmen, the media asked questions. Neither answered. In a country of over 300 million people, how did two members of the same occult-like secret society end up vying for the most powerful office on Earth? But skeptics argue that the truth is far simpler and far more dangerous. Not that Skull and Bones runs the world through some centralized scheme, but that it represents something even more enduring: a closed pipeline of privilege. The order does not need to plot coups or fix elections. Its power lies in access, in shared loyalty, in knowing that when a bonesman picks up the phone, another will answer. It's not a shadow government, it's an elite referral network, passed down through generations. And that is perhaps more insidious than any conspiracy. This is how power protects itself. Not through cloak and dagger drama, but through legacy admissions, secret mentorships, and unspoken agreements. It's not illegal, it's not even hidden. It's simply never questioned. Meanwhile, the public is distracted by the drama of politics, unaware that many of the players have already shaken hands in the tomb. Of course, many bonesmen go on to live quiet, ordinary lives. Not every member becomes powerful. Not every powerful person is a bonesman. But when influence is this concentrated, when networks this exclusive are given a head start, it becomes harder and harder to believe in the myth of equal opportunity. For all its influence, Skull and Bones has left behind remarkably few words. Not because the story hasn't been asked, but because those who could answer have always refused. From the moment they are initiated, bonesmen are bound by an oath of silence. It's not ceremonial, it's absolute. Even decades later, members rarely speak about the society. When they do, their words are vague, dismissive, or carefully rehearsed. No details, no confirmations, only a quiet deflection, followed by a change of subject. This silence isn't born of fear, it's born of design. The society's rituals are meant to foster an unbreakable trust, not just among classmates, but across generations. Bonesmen refer to each other as knight, while those who are not members are known simply as barbarians. It's a distinction that matters. Inside the tomb, loyalty is cultivated as the highest virtue. Secrecy is not a rule, it is a lifestyle. Few have broken the code. Those who have, often indirectly, paint a picture of a society obsessed with continuity. The rules are unchanging. The hierarchy is respected. Even after graduation, bonesmen are expected to prioritize their allegiance to the order above all else. One of the few public glimpses into the society came from Ron Rosenbaum, a Yale graduate and journalist who spent years investigating Skull and Bones. In 2001, a leaked video, later confirmed as authentic, captured parts of the society's initiation rituals. Bizarre pantomimes, chanting, and theatrical screaming. Critics called it juvenile. Others saw it as symbolic power play, ritualized humiliation to erase ego and enforce unity. Still, no one from within the society confirmed the footage or addressed its meaning. Silence prevailed. Even among bonesmen who reach public office, the line holds. When Tim Russert famously asked both George W. Bush and John Kerry about their membership during the 2004 election, both offered the same answer. In a political culture driven by image and narrative, Skull and Bones has defied the modern age. It leaves no press releases, gives no interviews, and issues no denials. The society understands something few others do, that power multiplies in silence. Because when people don't know what you're doing, they can't stop you from doing it. Nearly 2 centuries have passed since 15 Yale seniors first gathered in secrecy and pledged themselves to a lifetime of loyalty. The world has changed, empires have risen and fallen, but Skull and Bones remains. Today, the society still taps 15 students a year. The process remains mysterious. No applications, no campaigns. One day, you're chosen, and the next, you're sworn to silence. The reasons behind the selections are never disclosed. Academic achievement plays a role, but so does lineage, leadership, and potential for future influence. Children of senators, heirs to media empires, future tech magnates, they're not chosen for who they are, but for who they will become. The power of Skull and Bones is no longer limited to government and finance. It has seeped into culture, technology, media, and law. Bonesmen sit on boards of Fortune 500 companies. They shape foreign policy. They influence academia. Some do it from behind the scenes. Others walk openly in halls of power, but never speak of the tomb. Critics argue that the society's influence has diminished in the age of global tech giants and decentralized power structures. But insiders know better. Skull and Bones doesn't chase headlines. It cultivates continuity. Its strength lies not in visibility, but in durability. When administrations change, when public trust falters, when movements rise and fall, Bonesmen remain. Yale University itself has modernized. Diversity has increased. The image of a secret brotherhood of wealthy white Protestant men has been challenged. In recent decades, Skull and Bones has inducted women and minorities. But the core structure, the rituals, the secrecy, the internal hierarchy, remains untouched. And so does the pipeline, from Yale to Wall Street, from the Tomb to Langley, from Deer Island to DC. The society may not directly govern, but it ensures that its members never stand too far from those who do. In a world obsessed with transparency, Skull and Bones has made invisibility its armor. Its very refusal to change is what keeps it powerful. While other institutions adapt, the order endures, because Skull and Bones doesn't serve the moment, it serves the long game. In a time when transparency is demanded and institutions are scrutinized, Skull and Bones remains an anomaly. It doesn't advertise, it doesn't explain, it doesn't defend, and yet its members continue to shape the levers of American power. Why does this matter? Because Skull and Bones reveals a truth few are willing to confront. In a country built on meritocracy, legacy still reigns. The society is not just a club, it's a system. One designed to pass privilege from one generation to the next, wrapped in ritual and protected by silence. Its influence is not measured by how many laws it passes or elections it controls. It's measured in access, in the quiet trust exchanged behind closed doors, in the knowledge that no matter who wins or loses, someone from the tomb is always nearby. For the public, the mystery of Skull and Bones is a curiosity, something between folklore and conspiracy. But for those on the inside, it's a guarantee of opportunity, of belonging, of insulation from the chaos of the outside world. And that is why it still matters. Because when 15 students each year are offered the keys to an invisible empire, the playing field shifts. Not with force, but with familiarity. Not through domination, but through design. In the age of populism, decentralization, and disruption, Skull and Bones endures not in spite of the change, but because it never changes. It was built to outlast revolutions, to survive the rise and fall of movements, markets, and empires. And so it remains silent, hidden, unchallenged. The question is not whether Skull and Bones controls the world. It doesn't have to. The real question is, how many of the people who do pass through its door? Have you ever been part of an exclusive club? even if it didn't run the country, but still gave you access, status, or power? If so, please share your experience in the comments section below, and let me know if you'd like to hear more stories like this or topics you want me to cover next. This is Liam, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.